Okay, you want to start?
You can.
Okay. So, the story of Joan Joan Beaufort, she, was actually the Queen of Scotland, and she was the granddaughter of Catherine Swynford and of the daughter of the legitimated son of Catherine Swynford, John Beaufort, who was also John of Gaunt's. Anyways, blah 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 blah. So she had a really, really sad story. What do you remember that's really sad from that story?
Okay, so she had like a son, but like, okay, no, that.
Yeah, she had a son.
Yeah,
she had a lot
son.
of kids.
Yeah, she had a lot of kids.
Yeah, she did.
But something happened to like her son that was sad. So her son was taken away.
Yeah, so that's right, because she got married to the King of Scotland while he was in a jail in England, and he saw her from his jail cell, and she had even inspired him to write this amazing poem about her, and somehow they made a deal that if she could go and rule Scotland with him from England, then he could get let out of prison. And he was the king when he was basically like 12 years old, right?
Yes,
and because his older brothers got killed, and when they were little, by the uncle, because the uncle was like, I want to be king. And then the uncle was like, oh, I'm going to like rule over Scotland, and I'm going to keep this 12-year-old in a jail in England until he was 30 years old, so the uncle could kind of like run things behind his back, even though the technicality was that James was actually the King of Scotland, even at 12. And it was very sad. And so I think he probably saw Joan as like his like hero in this, because she was able to somehow get him released. But sadly, the story does not end happily there, does it?
Yes, James was assassinated, and her wife was also, like, Joan was also assassinated, but not really.
She was like,
she was a
victim of it, but she survived.
Yes, she survived somehow, and then she was arrested for some reason. I do not know.
She got arrested because now the King of Scotland's dead, and she's an English woman, now technically basically ruling Scotland, and the Scottish people were like, we don't want some weird English lady ruling our country, like, we need to fix this. And so they had a bunch of people come and arrest her, and they stole her young child, who was a male, her young son child, and they took him from her, and I don't know what happened to him. I would have to look into that, but it was very, very sad. And to know that this actually happened to these people, like, these are real people, like, this actually happened in life, and that's quite a tragedy, like, on top of another tragedy, where it's like poor King James had already, like, been a victim of these people his whole life. He was even put in a jail to try to be kept from being killed, and he ends up being killed anyways. And then his young son also is taken from his mother at a very young age, just over the fight for this, the fight to be in charge of the Kingdom of Scotland, which, it kind of makes you, like, not want to be a king.
And she was, like, buried.
And she was buried? Where was she buried?
Like, in a graveyard somewhere, probably, like...
probably
under
probably
sand.
In, like, a big mausoleum, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, I bet her gravestone is big since she was, like, queen.
Yeah, you think she's a big, like, queenly gravestone?
Yeah. Like, how like a president does.
Like how a president does?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you're right. It says she's buried at Perth Charterhouse. Let's see what that looks like. Well, that doesn't look like anything, does it? But that's where she's at, and maybe we'll find a picture to show you on here.
Yeah.
So that's where that is, and that is the very short tale of
Joan Beaufort,
who is the daughter of John and the granddaughter of Catherine.
Joan Beaufort.